Hey, welcome back. So on the last video, we talked about hip turns, and this video flows out of that into plyo step. This is probably the most challenging and in terms of injury risk, the highest injury risk movement that we're going to do for June and July, so sport month and speed month. But it's also highly effective in helping you get out of a neutral stance or a static athletic ready stance and accelerate in a direction that you want to go. So the intensity, we want to start with like 20% intensity, very low intensity, and rep it out. We're going to want to get some high reps of this, basically to build up the tissues in a SAID principle or specific adaptation to imposed demands, SAID specific manner, where we're getting into the position that you're actually going to be working on when you get into a little bit of a faster acceleration or takeoff out of it. And so I'll walk you through the basic step. We're going to start out of a neutral stance. And the first iteration really I want to work on is pushing into a wall. And the reason for that is just to have good support and not to have to think so much about what the upper body is doing. We're going to have the point of stability with the wall. And so basically lining up against a wall or a door in this case, or preferably you're using a solid wall. We're going to drop the hips and keep both feet on ball of foot. So the hip or your belt buckle, if we want to use that, that's a great external cue again. Drop the belt buckle towards the floor, and we're going to get up on ball of foot. If we're doing that out of a neutral stance, we'd just be standing here, both hands against the wall, and then imagine that you're going to push the wall over quickly. It's really key that we do that quickly. So this isn't like a long, slow push, like a sled push, or you're trying to push a truck that may be stalled out and you have the vehicle in neutral. It's not a long, slow drive through the legs. So we really want to have, even as we're accelerating, this back knee is not ever going to fully lock or extend like it would in a slower, heavier push. And this is more of like a fast movement where we actually don't want to drive all the way back because it puts the hamstring and the Achilles tendon at risk. We want to maintain a slight bit of knee bend as we accelerate out of it. So against the wall, this is what it would look like. We're going to drop and imagine that you're quickly pushing that wall over. So I'm dropping, staggering my stance, going onto ball of foot on both feet and pushing into that wall. We've talked in lunges, squats, how important the big toe is and driving pressure through the big toe to stabilize the arch, get the calf, the hamstring, and the glute to engage up that posterior chain. So in this case too, we want to make sure that as we're plyo stepping, we have a good big toe connection on both feet into the floor. So over time, what this would start to look like, coming off of the wall, we would work out of a neutral stance where the feet are just underneath the hips. And then we're going to drop, again, belt buckle towards the floor. I'm not driving my back leg back a lot. I'm in a pretty narrow stance, but staggered stance. So drop in, belt buckle, forward lean, ball of foot, and then I could accelerate out of that. So again, 20% intensity, keep it low. Make sure that we're staggering both directions. So if we did some reps one way, we want to do some reps, again, going that other way. That's the plyo step. You'll see it all over in sport. You'll see it in basketball, where somebody is dribbling, they're going to drive past their defender. You'll see it in wide receivers in NFL. So not that, we're coaching elite level athletes per se, but in the 15-up population, again, speed, power, resilience in the tissues, the tendons, the ligaments, and training them not just, in a slower strength sort of focused fashion, like traditional exercise science. Yes, we're going to squat, deadlift, all of that is great stuff, but we also want the tissues to be able to respond quickly, and that's because life sometimes demands it. So life sometimes demands a little misstep can mean that we need to catch ourselves. And so we want those tissues, tendons, ligaments, all the structures around the joint to be really solid. This is another amazing way to build and maintain bone density. So as we load, we're actually putting a multiplied force factor of body weight force through the body. It's not just your body weight. because of this being a little bit more of a plyometric action, we're actually amping that up to probably at least 2 times, maybe 3 times your body weight. If we're sprinting out of it, even more than that. So again, low intensity, high repetition at first. Start to develop a good feel for this. We're going to build up those tissues, and then over time we can start to kick up the intensity to 50% and then 70% and so on. Have some fun with it. And one more. So that was neutral stance. We can also go out of your static athletic ready stance. So if we T-step, drop into static athletic ready, we can plyo step from there. It's not going to be quite as linear as the narrow stance or the neutral stance, where the feet are just going to sort of drop from where they are. Out of static athletic ready, we're almost going to bring the feet in and then into that stagger, and then you're accelerating out of that. So I think covered all the bases there on plyo step. Again, have fun with it, and I'll talk to you soon.